Hello and welcome to the Podquest of Bread. And tonight we're going to talk about the DNC. We're going to talk about the DNC convention because it kicks off tonight, so we might as well speak on it. And we might as well speak on how the DNC is leaving leftists in the dark and leaving them behind, and instead pandering towards a very select crowd, a crowd that they feel they need to win in 2020, while ignoring the goals of the youth, the goals of leftists, and the goals of true progressives everywhere. So, as I said, tonight kicks off the DNC convention. This is mostly a virtual convention. It is going to include pre-recorded speeches. Of course, at the end, we expect that both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will accept their nomination to be the actual candidates that are on the ticket in November. And, of course, to kick off all these speeches, I want to talk about some of the people that will be speaking over the next 2 days, because it's a very odd selection. It's a very odd group of people. And to understand why these people are the ones that will be speaking takes a little bit of explanation and a little bit of a look into what this race is, what the purpose of the ticket is, and why, again, they're leaving leftists behind. So, first off, we're going to kick off the convention sometime tonight with a speech from GOP, or former GOP governor of Ohio, John Keish. John is a rather storied character, created some of the worst minimum wage laws in the nation, has been rather not progressive, has not really been one to cater towards the movement in any way, shape, or form. And then we are also going to roll into speeches from GOP, or former GOP governor of New York, Christine Whitman, former HP CEO Meg Whitman, and former Congresswoman of New York, Susan Molinari. Now, I'm going to assume that these four Republicans who are jumping party lines to speak at the DNC convention are going to have a pretty sizable time slot. If I had to take a guess, probably somewhere in the range of 5 to 10, maybe even 15 minutes each to speak. But there's one person that's slated to speak that I really want to talk about, because it really puts an image on, or it really puts to light what the goal of this convention is, what the goal of the ticket is. And then it leads me into talking about what we as leftists should really do. AOC has 60 seconds to speak. 60 seconds. You have four Republicans who are jointly probably going to have somewhere around an hour to speak, while you're going to have AOC, who is the most progressive person in the party, literally supports the most leftist causes in the party, speaking for 60 seconds. And that really puts to light what the goal of this convention is, what the goal of the ticket is, and what the goal in November is. The goal in November is not to bring the leftists in. The DNC already knows that they're not going to. Go on Twitter. I mean, you look at any leftists on Twitter, they are not in any way, shape, or form voting for this ticket. They have literally said they will not support. We have said we will not support Biden and Harris. Okay, now I'm on a little bit different of the side of the spectrum, but I'm still there. The DNC, the Democratic Party, they are not targeting leftists. They're targeting what the DNC or the Democratic Party would be in any other country. I've said it a lot on this podcast, mostly on the former channel, not the new channel, how the Democratic Party in any other country would be a center-right party. They would be a party that focuses on center-right politics in any other country in the world. And that's really what they're targeting here. The DNC in pretty much forcing the hand to Biden, the DNC in probably forcing the hand of Biden to pick Kamala Harris, they are targeting center-right politics. They are targeting Republicans who are more center-right than they are hard-right, least likely to vote for Trump, but if the DNC didn't pick a candidate like Biden and a candidate like Harris, they would likely vote Trump. The DNC's goal is entirely to harvest people from the right to vote for their ticket in order to make Trump a one-term president. Now, with that being said, while they're doing this, they are literally disenfranchising a large section of the newest voters to the party. Now, that's not to say that there won't be people who sit there and say, clench their teeth and just bite their tongue, go in there, sick to their stomach, and press that button for Biden and Harris. They likely will. But there are principled leftists, like true leftists in this country, who refuse to take that ticket, and this is who I want to speak to tonight. If you're someone who is a fan of what AOC does, if you're a fan of leftist politics, mainly socialist and communist ideas where humanity is the basis of life, if your idea of a future is overthrowing the state and the status quo and changing it for the better good of humanity and the worker, where do you go? Of course, some traditional Democrats would tell you to stick it out. Come on, you gotta vote Biden. You don't want to vote Trump, you gotta vote Biden. But that's not who we are going to go for. So who do we go for? Well, luckily for us, there are a lot of candidates running, and there are a lot of candidates that do fit into some of the things that we want. Now, some people within the Libertarian Party would tell you to vote for Joe Jorgensen. Clench your teeth, vote for Joe Jorgensen. My problem there is that voting for Joe Jorgensen and clenching your teeth and voting for Joe Jorgensen is just as bad, if not worse, than clenching your teeth and voting for Biden and Harris. The problem with Joe is, of course, she is hard right. She is as far into the libertarian right as you can. And the problem with that is that's completely antithetical to what we as leftists seek. It's antithetical to what we want to support. So who do we support from there? Well, there's a couple options. And I'm going to name the first one because it's the one that I support the most and who will be on this podcast later this week. And that would be Mark Charles. Mark Charles, he's an independent. He is Native American. His goal is to eliminate slavery truly in this country. His goal is to change the Constitution in order to be more welcoming and more inclusive. Get rid of the 51 times that a he, him is used in the Constitution and replace it with they, them, there. He is actually talking about change, making women recognized within the Constitution, making African Americans more than 3/5 of a person. It's a great start. It's an excellent start. And it's a place where we can put our vote and still feel good about ourselves and still feel good about who we are as people and stay principled leftists because we are working to move in the proper direction. Where's another direction we could go? Many leftists are actually going to go green this year. They'll wind up going for Howie Hawkins. Howie Hawkins, of course, supports many socialist ideas. Most of them are eco-socialist. He supports the original Green New Deal. He supports universal health care. He supports working on improving education and improving access to education. Income disparity, that's something he supports. It's a great platform. And many principled leftists will flock to him. But the thing is that if we are going to be principled leftists and we are going to stand up and continue to fight, and we're going to stand up and continue to push for what we believe is the right system, then we must stay the course. We cannot fold and bow down and support Biden. We cannot fold and bow down and support Joe Jorgensen. It's just not possible. But what do we do moving towards the future? Well, there's a few things to recognize. The first things to recognize are that the Democratic Party is more than likely going to pander to the center-right for the next 4 to 8 years. Progressive candidates like Bernie, like AOC, they are going to get shot down. When AOC is old enough to run for president, she more than likely isn't going to get it under a Democratic ticket. She's way too extreme. She's way too progressive for it. Leftists in the Libertarian Party, something we need to recognize. More than likely for the next 8 to 12 years, the Libertarian Party is not going to put up someone that is not an anarcho-capitalist. The Libertarian Party is more than likely not going to put up people that embrace our leftist ideas within the party. So what do? We message to people, young people. We get them involved, and we sort of kind of ignore the presidential system. We kind of ignore the presidential ticket. Continue to vote for the independents or whoever at that time is actually lining up with our ideals. But we focus on recruiting youth, progressive youth, leftist youth, to run for not only local office, but state office and national office. And then what we can do is we can actually overrun the system, overload the system, and bring forth our change. Tonight, and for the rest of the week, the Democrats are going to celebrate this ticket. And if you're a liberal or a corporate Democrat, this is the ticket for you. You will love this ticket. This ticket's perfect for you. Biden-Harris. It's everything that you want. But if you're a principled leftist, in any way, shape, or form, whether that be on the lib left, whether you're a member of the DSA, if you're a Green that doesn't support Howie Hawkins, anybody that's a principled leftist, this is not the ticket for you. Anybody that will stand up and say Black Lives Matter, this is not the ticket for you. Anybody that cares about trans rights or gay rights, this is not the ticket for you. There are so many tickets that this does not fit into. And that's what we have to remember as principled leftists. We have to continue to push. We have to continue to fight. And really the only way to fight is to build it up from the ground up. And then eventually we will have someone that is a principled leftist running for president that we can support. Anyway, thanks for tuning in to the Podquest of Bread, our first episode under the new name. Have a good night.